But what if I want it this way? I have to do it this way? I don't agree. I don't think that that's how that works. All right. So I'm actually just going to be folding clothes and stuff. And I'm just going to let y'all be right there while I'm talking. So basically, I have this list of like stories and things that there were YouTube ideas I had for videos that I never did or got to because it's like so random. And I was trying to find it today. I couldn't find it. But I do know one of them was about the amount of jobs that I have had over my lifetime. So, because they all have, like, not all, but some of them have interesting stories. And if you're like looking for a career type of things, it's kind of interesting to see somebody else's like work journey, I feel like. So, my work journey got off to an interesting start. Now, you can tell me if this counts as my first job or not. So, my first job, I don't know, I never officially worked a shift, but I was hired. So, I don't know if it counts. I guess it don't count, but let's just say this. So, is this incriminating now that I'm an adult? I don't care. But anywho, when I was 14, I applied to work at McDonald's and went through the interview process, got the job, came to orientation, and they were about to, take my information, get my social security number. And I said, "Can people who are 14 work here?" And she was like, "Yeah, why?" And I was like, "I'm 14." She said, "Hold on a minute." And she, she went to the back and she came back and she said, "You can't um you can't work here. I'm sorry, we can't hire you. You lied on your application." I was devastated. You hear me? I was devastated. Now, it makes sense, like why. Well, I know why I lied, because I wanted to work. And honestly, now that's why when my kids are talking about they want a job and all this, I be like, you know, hold your horses. Like, a job will come. You really don't have to worry about it. Time for working will happen. But anywho, so that was like the first time. I guess it wasn't my first job. So my official first job was when I was 16. And that job, I worked at Wendy's. I took orders, worked at the front register, and did the fries. Simple enough, right? So basically, I spent a lot of time eating fries and nuggets and and stuff like that. What I remember most from that job is like people used to come through and they would, like, it was this man who used to come through. I don't know. Back in the day, I don't know if people do it now, but there used to be people who would try to like trip you up and be like, "Okay, give me," they would come in with a 20, right? And then they'd be like, "Okay, give me four fives. Okay, now give me 10, give me two tens, give me this, blah, 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 blah." Like, they kept switching it. They would keep switching it and flipping it, trying to get you confused to try to steal money, basically, and to try to mess your register up. And I remember he was doing all of that, and I just closed my register. I said, "It's closed." Like, even as a child, I really wasn't for the like dumb stuff. Baby, it's closed. Move on. Move on. So that job was really one of the hardest jobs I ever had. I used to have to clean the bathroom at the Wendy's at night and mop the floor. Everybody else that worked there was older than me. So they were just like smoking what they was smoking in the back, and like I was doing the work basically after hours. But anywho, so that job I almost forgot one. So then I worked at Burger King. And Burger King was a little better. They weren't The crew there was a little better, but yeah, no difference for real. Then I worked in retail, like at a clothing store. That was cool. I'm trying to get to the, you know, the nursing situation. So then when I went off to college, my original first job when I went to college. So I am a registered nurse and I have, yeah, bachelor's in nursing. But then when I first went to school, I was kind of undecided. But I think the first job, if I'm not mistaken, was me working at a nursing home. And this nursing home, baby, it was some hard work, of course, obviously. But what made me in that job was actually I was I was like, doing my thing. So I was like I wasn't a CNA, but I was like a nurse's assistant. So I was basically doing the job of a CNA. And I was so one of the residents had an accident, but it was lunchtime. So my job at that point was to be bringing them down to lunch. But I didn't want to bring her down wet. So I decided to change her before I brought her down. So then the nurse was like yelling and mad because I brought her down late. And I'm like, she was wet. And she like still wasn't like understanding that I brought her down late because I wasn't about to bring her down wet. So I'm like mad. Basically mad. So at that time I was probably about 18 years old. So I pretty much walked out of there hollering and screaming, letting them know that hey, listen, this not how I do it. Like y'all, I was mad. I was mad about a plethora of things, and everything came out at that point. Like, look, y'all taking all these smoke breaks, y'all not doing no work. Then y'all want me to, y'all so worried about checking off boxes instead of taking care of people. They had just made me mad. And then, in my 18-year-old wisdom, I also felt the need to let her know, hey, I'm in nursing school and I'm gonna be this type of nurse and you that type of nurse, which I would never say that now because I know that really to me, jobs don't matter. So there's no the person who picks up trash or the person who whatever job you want to say and a doctor, they're literally just jobs, work. It's just work. But at that time I just let her know because I was so mad about her being mad at me about changing this lady and not bringing her down wet. So I stormed out of there, wrote them a nice long letter. I wonder if I could find the letter. But I wrote them a nice long, wrote the director of nursing a nice long letter, letting her know where they had me messed up and where they had their residents messed up. And I called her. I don't know if I called her or she called me, but somehow we ended up on the phone and she's like, you can come back. And I don't know what she said. I don't know if she said you can come back, but you gotta apologize, or you can come back. I don't, baby. I didn't know because I was so flabbergasted after she said you can come back when I never said I wanted to come. I never said I was coming back, baby. I quit. Didn't I resign in that letter? I let you know I was quitting in the letter. So what is you talking about? I could come back. Why would I come back? Yeah, y'all should have thought about y'all was short staff before she thought that she could talk to me any kind of way because she didn't know that yeah, I'm not just a young girl. I'm actually a college student and sweetie, I don't have no bills for real. So I don't care. Baby, I quit. And when I say I quit, I'm done. Like, hey, you have a blessed day. So I was done with them. Then I got the easiest job of my lifetime, which was my student my student job where I was working in the resident hall. I worked in the theater and football dorm as like a front desk person. So basically sorting mail and literally just sitting there if they had questions or stuff like that, which they really didn't have any questions. The theater kids did most of the talking to me. I would say that. Like there was this one girl, she would always say, and I didn't know, of course, I'm not this might be a Disney thing, I'm not sure, but she used to always come up and be like, Barbara, Manatee, Manatee, she's the one for me, one for me. I didn't know what it was from. I'm like, girl, what exactly can I help you with? That was, but they were very eccentric people just by nature. So I feel like it was a fun thing. I could also do that in the summertime, and we would have summer camps where younger people came, and we would host those. So that was one of the easiest jobs I ever had in my life. I did it the not the whole time because let's say this at a point at a point in my college career, I was pregnant, right? So shout out to him. He's about to be 16. So I worked there while I was pregnant, but after I had him, I didn't work there no more. Um, and yeah, I guess I didn't work again until we moved back to Kansas City. So we moved back to Kansas City, and I was still in nursing school, but the program we did like half of the work in the small town, and then we went to the city so that we would have access to more hospitals to do our clinicals and stuff. We had classes closer to the city. So we moved back to Kansas City and I started working at a hospital. Is that the first job I got? Yes, I think. Well, no, there was a little thing before that. I worked at Bath and Body Works for 5 minutes. Let's say 2 to 3 months. I worked at Bath and Body Works. Stocking stuff. You get a lot when you work at Bath and Body Works. You get a lot of free stuff, or at least at that time, it just seemed to be a lot of free stuff around. It just seemed to be, just a lot going on. So that was a cool little job. It was very simple. Some days I'll wish for that job again because stocking stuff is so therapeutic. I'm folding clothes, but stocking stuff is so therapeutic to me. So that was one of my, better jobs to me. Easy does it type of job. And yeah, then I went over into the hospital because again, I'm a nursing student and I'm kind of trying to solidify myself as I'm a hospital person. I'm a hospital girl. So I started working as a nurse's assistant there. Um, I started working at the hospital as a nurse's assistant, and and what happened there? It was good. I mean, that let me know what it was gonna be like. Like it was fast paced. Some days weren't because some days, you're sitting with one person, but other day it really let me know what it's gonna look like to be a nurse. That was, I think, if anybody wants to be a registered nurse, then being some kind of CNA or nurse assistant or a student nurse in a hospital is a good idea because you get to see like firsthand what it's going to be like. Like if people are coding or if people are, needing this or that, you're going to see it. You're going to be right there in the mix. So that was good. But when I graduated, um, so I was pregnant again while I was a CNA or nursing assistant or whatever. I was pregnant again. And then so I had my baby in that my second son in that hospital. But when I graduated, so long story short on that, my due to the way I acted, I'm not gonna say I was faultless, but due to my personality and due to the type of people that I went to school with, none of them cared for me, right? They didn't like me like that. So they really were able to keep me from getting a lot of jobs. Like one time I was recommended by somebody very high up at a hospital. And the girl said that I was difficult to work with. It's so funny because every year I see stuff from when we used to work together and she would be like, "Thanks for sending me that assignment," or "Thanks for helping me out that night," and stuff like that. I will see like things that she posted to me on Facebook while we worked together, but they told them that I was difficult to work with. I was difficult to party with because I didn't drink like that. I don't really drink at all now, but even as a young person, like under 21 or 21, whatever age you want to say, I really wasn't a drinker partier. I went to the club once or twice while I was in college and I didn't prefer it. It wasn't, I didn't vibe well with it. So I just wasn't that person. So they didn't like me. Okay. So long story short, I ended up working in a nursing home. That nursing home that I worked in. Now I don't know what job I said was my worst job, but that one, cause on what was all on the line was the problem. It was so dangerous. You hear me? The ratios was so dangerous. And then at this point now, well, when I started, I didn't have a license. I was sitting for boards because you can work for 6 months without sitting for boards. I remember when I got the message on my phone that I had passed boards, but and I was working that day. But anywho, that place was so terribly ran. And those people that worked there were so abused. Like they like to have people like who really needed a job. And I've never been like a person that's begging for a job. I've never been that kind of person because I just will move around. Like I don't mind. So hold on. Okay, so I don't mind. I will look around for jobs. So I ended up, what happened? Like, oh, that job. It was just oof, oof, oof. But I handled it. I handled it. Like it was, I will say that I feel like it was good that I had that experience because after like taking care of being responsible for that many people at once, you kind of develop skills that you couldn't develop anywhere else, and it just kind of made me, better. But to be honest with you, I only worked there for like 4 to 6 months. To be particularly honest with you, because when people would ask me where I worked, I would say I work at such and such a place, but I'm gonna work at this place. So I would basically speak into existence. I had no proof that I was gonna work at this place, but it was a hospital. It was a trauma one hospital in the city, with the gunshots and all of that. And I just felt like that's where I'm gonna work. And I would just always be telling people, anybody be like, "Where you work?" I'd be like, "I work here, but I'm about to work there." Period. I'm about to work there. I'm about to work there. I'm about to work there. So my mind was always on I'm about to work there. So I come in one day, and again, they ratios and everything is just messed up, right? Something happened and somebody had to take the fall, right? So I walk in and the lady gives me I don't know, like a roll me up. And I'm like, oh, okay. I go out to my car and I pull out my resignation letter, and I was like, this is not about that. This is about this is not because of that. And it really wasn't, but it made it easier. I obviously already had the letter typed up. I already had the offer for the hospital that I wanted to work at. I already had all that, so I was already leaving. But that just kind of pushed me forward, like, oh, okay, you want to write me up? You got paperwork? I got paperwork. Boom, boom, boom. Uno reverse back to you, dropped basically. But she was like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. Are you sure?" I'm like, "No, it's fine. love y'all show, as my aunt would say. But I'm leaving because, yeah, honey, I got a job. I already said I work here, but I don't work there. That was like, we was never locked in like that. So I end up going to the hospital that I wanted to work at, that I was just so in love with. And I learned so much, worked with the best people that I ever could have worked with. It was amazing, but it was hard work, of course. It was amazing though. I worked there for, I don't know, but I know that it was shorter. It was shorter because I worked there. I didn't work there long enough to where I think we had to sign like a 4-year contract as new RNs to work there. And then because I had to buy myself out of the contract. And I didn't have no problem doing that because I had, what did I do? I had put, I wonder if this is recording. If it's not, oh well. But I had put yeah, the job that I had lined up, because this was another step out on faith. Like, I didn't want to work. I had small children. You hear me this whole time I've been talking about my kids, my kids, my kids. I was having children while I was in school. And so I had that pull to where, yes, it was great working nights. So then I could be with my kids during the day. But I was tired. And it was nice, being able to just kind of be flexible with my shifts and stuff like that. But I wanted even more. And the opportunity came up to, it's called PRN. Like, so I did as needed type of nursing. I was an agency nurse. But as I was transitioning to being an agency nurse, I remember one time I walked out of the med room and one of the nurses was like, she'll be back. She'll, like, they were probably maybe in their 40s or 50s at that time, and I was in my 20s. And they were like, she'll be back, like everybody thinks the grass is greener, she'll be back. She never came back. She never did, because she know what she was doing. But it was just interesting how, people think that, hold on one second. Yeah, it's just interesting that people think that they know, or they put their insecurities or what they're scared of on you, and make it like, just because they were afraid to do something, that it's not gonna work out on you. I had the right things. My husband had a job where my insurance was through him, so I really didn't need insurance, and it was literally double hourly wage, working um working as needed. And what, unfortunately, the nursing crisis or nursing shortage is not new. So I always was able to work any day I wanted to work. I could work. And I'm not a money hungry person, so I could always now work less, because again, not again, because the video hasn't come out, but I've always been a person who lives below my means. So I never like had to, just because my money increased, my cost of living did not increase. So I didn't need, more money for that. That's exactly how I was able to pay off so much of my loans, because I moved over into that. So when I was in that part of my life, I was working at maybe 4 or 5 different hospitals, just depending on where they needed people through the night. I was working psych, in mental health hospitals. I was working, in the regular hospital, emergency rooms, wherever they needed somebody. And so that was, the flexibility in that job was amazing. Amazing. However, here comes Barb again with the needing a change. So it's if you look at my YouTube channel, you'll see that I really like change. I like to move around, do different things. So there came a point where I was like, now this is too much. Like, I'm working nights, I'm doing 12-hour shifts. I don't really like day shift, but I do that too. I don't want to do this either. type of thing. So I kind of made a I think I made like a Facebook post saying like I don't want to do this, or if anybody knows of a like 9 to 5 type of thing that blah 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 that needs a nurse, I'm your girl because I'm tired of this. Just so happened my babysitter, my little babysitter, I had a little teenage babysitter. Her stepmom sister was working somewhere that had a job opening. They had a job opening for it was a health coordinator. Yeah, I'm gonna give y'all that title because that moved me into more community health. It moved me into more case management. So it moved me into like what I do now. So that went for that interview, got that job. It was a different ball game. So at that point I was salary. So we had the defined times of I think 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, but I was driving to a lot of sites. I was going to lunch with the girls. That was that time in my life. There's all the TikToks about people having. I don't stop moving. I need to keep cleaning up while you talking. You can talk and clean, but I had, what I was saying, you got friends that show mama's age or friends that's, 30 years older than you. That was my time of my life when when my friends I had my work friends and they was like, let's go here, let's go there, let's go to lunch, let's go to the thrift, let's do this. And I was just living it up, going to all the 50th birthday parties. It was a time, honey. I love those women to this day. I love those women. I learned don't get me to crying, okay? I learned so much from those women. People I see now on Facebook, people talking about like, oh, this group of if you've ever had this type of manager, I'm gonna just say they say, a black female manager, they rough on you. Absolutely not. Mine's always all the women, the older women that I work with, they held me down. They took care of me. You hear me? They had my back. They told me when I was wrong. They showed me how to navigate the system. And that is why today I'm able to work and survive it and thrive in it because of the lessons that they taught me. They taught me how to work this, when to keep my mouth closed, when to speak up, how to take care of myself, and how to work. And that's it. Work and that's it. They taught me that. So I don't know what other people's experience was, but baby, they held me down. That was an interesting time. So it was that situation where I was like a part of quality for this organization. So I was like having to tell other people how to like I had to depend on other people to meet their metrics in order for me to be doing a good job. So it was a headache. That was a headache, but I did it at some point. Now, so let's move. So then at some point, I moved into a different position in that same kind of organization that freed me up because then I worked as a contractor for them and I put them as a part of my LLC. And then I got really heavy into teaching CPR classes and teaching medication administration classes. And at this time, I'm also doing Zumba, cycle. This was my like I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a entrepreneur. I'm a contractor. What do you need me to do? I can do anything in the world of health type of thing. That's when I was going to nursing homes and doing wellness checks that they needed. Like if they didn't have an RN and they had an LPN and they needed an RN to sign off on things, I would go in and do inspections and stuff like that. Like I was in my what you need done, I got you bag. So then Kevin, my husband, gets a job offer. He's gotten plenty of job offers before this, but he got one that he could not refuse. And we moved to Ohio. When we moved to Ohio, I didn't work. I'll just say that. I did not work. Um Did not work. So as we were, so let's say a month or two before the pandemic started, I had made these plans to, okay, I'm going to, I had just taught my first Zumba class here. I had just met with a woman who had a home health agency, and she also taught CNA classes, or they call it, I don't know what they call it here, but it's a nursing assistant type of classes. So I was scheduled. I think I paid for it, and I don't think I ever got my money, but I paid for the class to become an instructor for um to become a CNA instructor so that I could do that for her thing. Baby, when the world, when everything that happened, I said, I'm not going to nobody's nursing home. I'm not doing none of that. Count me out. Just count me out of the whole thing, you know? So that story that I was about to build kind of got like, I'm good on that. Started doing contract contact tracing with the health department here. Oh, so I forgot some places because also, let's go back, when before I left Kansas City, I was also working for the health department doing CPR classes. That's how I originally got into CPR classes before I started doing CPR classes on my own. But anywho, so then I get here, start doing the contact tracing during the situation, and that was my first like working from home. Like when I was in Kansas City, I had some experience with that because I was like, I had experience with it because I was salary, and I was like, sometimes I was doing stuff early in the morning because I at some points I had a lot of jobs. I ain't gonna, but I had a lot of jobs. So sometimes I would have to get up at 5 a.m. to make sure that I had the things ran for this job so that I can be at teaching this at this time. And I just like made it work. But anywho, that was my first time like working a completely remote job. Loved it. Loved it to death. Moved up in that situation, but knew that it was coming to a close because the world was going back to what we business as usual. So I said, what can I do? I have this nursing degree. What can I do? Because the girl's not going back out in the world and working. She's not doing it. So I find out there's case management comes to play. There's a lot of different things other than case management where you as a nurse that you can work from home, but that's the road I took. I looked up case management certification. Like I wanted to be able to spell this out for the company that I work for. I wanted to be able to spell it out. I'm your girl. I'm your girl. So I start studying for this case management certification. I find out like, oh, the stuff that I was doing in my community health job is a lot of meeting a lot of these values. So um I am qualified to sit to take this test. So I get the book, I do the studying, I do all my things. I One thing about me, I skipped a lot of school when I was in high school, but hey, I can pass a test. So I passed the test, just as I did with the other ones, my nursing degree, my NCLEX and all of that. I passed the test. And now I'm certified nurse case manager. There was another job in there too. But that one was so short lived. And it was basically the same as the other one. So anyway, but and it was a work from home. But so I'm like, so that's my job that I have now. I'm a case manager. Um and the job agrees with me for the fact that it's work from home. uh there's flexibility for me and my schedule. So I say all that story to say, like, it took me all of those jobs and all of those experiences to find out what I really like and what I really don't like, what my non-negotiables are. And you're not that there might not be a job that's better suited for me at a better time, but right now this job is uniquely suited for me. I get to take care of the people, like the same person and the same attitude that I brought when that lady was wet, and she, I put her first. That's the same thing that I bring to my job now. The same thing of the when somebody playing games with me, when somebody is like not trying to give me that money, give me my trying to take my money type of thing, I bring my knowing, my street smarts to the job. I the same thing of the lessons I learned from the women that I work with, I bring that to the job of how to be a good co-worker without crossing the line on that. I bring all that with me, and yeah, that was just a story that I wanted to tell. And it's out there now.